One thing I've noticed when looking through my game library of pure questionability, I occasionally scroll past my N64 section. I don't really have a lot of games for the system, but the ones I do have, I remember liking a lot. I wonder why I don't have any. That's why. Not all games are created equally. That's something I would say if I was trying to make a political speech. No, some games just suck. I hope it's not too hard to believe that, but really, my cousin Larry still hasn't recovered since I told him. I'm sure most people have their own opinion on what makes a game good, but when I ask people what's wrong with Frogger the Great Crest on PS2, all I get are tears. Bad games have been around since the invention of games, but more specifically, the Atari 2600. Obviously, Atari was no joke at the time. 2600 was pretty cool, but all the games you could play on it were not that. When a huge chunk of the games in your console's library were hot garbage to the point where the whole industry collapsed on itself, I think it sent a message to the people making them. Well, thank God bad games never happen again. But seriously, what causes a game to be considered a masterpiece by some, and others a reason for house arrest? In the past few years, we've had a variety of absolute trash popping on store shelves. I would name a few, but most of them look like the same damn game to me. Which brings us to different varieties of the same damn game. We have games that look bad, sound bad, play bad, try to be bad, but what do they all have in common? IGN loves them. Another part of the game reception meta are game review websites that sometimes mess up their job so badly people actually try out the games themselves instead of what listening to someone on Metacritic has to say. Sure, gaming journalism is a pretty good thing, it helps keep new information about the gaming industry available to the public. But you know what else they do? Treason. The whole atmosphere of gaming journalism has changed so much in the past few years. Like, before all this nonsense happened, journalists from companies like IGN were absolute legends in the industry. Now, the neighbors get a letter when one moves in. It seems like every time a new game comes out, people believe the exact opposite of what these reviewers have to say, and that's usually because they're bad reviews. Which reminds me, dog shit! There's a lot of things that could make a game turn out bad. It could have disappointing presentation, it could be completely broken and non-functional, or it could be slapped because it's not as good as something else that it shouldn't even be compared to. But does that make a game not worth playing? Do a few flaws overshadow the whole existence of a game? In most cases, I shouldn't have to respond to that question, but I'm a nice guy, so I'll answer that for you. Just because a game is bad doesn't mean it's not worth your time. For example, Mafia 3 released in 2016. How did I remember that? The Revolution. Some people hated this game when it came out for its repetitive structuring and constant game-breaking glitches. Now that we're several years in the future, yeah, I see their point, but there's a whole lot to this game that I like. It has a pretty good story, interesting characters, and it supported a phenomenal cast, but some people didn't even give it a chance, and I think that's a big problem. Reviewers of games use a score of 1 to 10 for everything they breathe on, and sometimes the number they put at the end is a bit more important to the viewers than the actual review itself, and that, ladies and gentlemen, is a problem. I don't think review scores should be set up this way because they don't always abide by the context of the game they're talking about, or just anything in general. Some games should be able to have a score summed up in a couple numbers, and others shouldn't be compared to anything else. Games, to put it simply, can be literal works of art that prove the talent and effort the developers put into them. To name one in particular, the Half-Life remake Black Mesa, and others can be worthless cash grabs that I wouldn't even touch if I was paid to. So, basically everything made by EA. Now, does that mean every single gamer you've ever seen is a lie created by con men in the industry with a selfish desire to make you buy more copies of Glover? No, absolutely not. There's a lot of good reviewers out there, but there's not a lot of brain cells working in the mind of people who base their whole opinion on something over another. A bad game to me is one that doesn't have, for lack of a better word, a soul. Releases like the new Saints Row, like Hunt Down the Freeman. I know you're probably tired of hearing about it, but still. And of course, who could forget Frogger the Great Quest? These games, to put it bluntly, suck. They're just terrible, but do they have to be that way? I mean, in case of Frogger, the answer is probably yes, but these games didn't fail at being games just because they existed. They failed because they didn't understand what games are supposed to be. I'm not saying that games have to be wacky and bombastic just to keep people entertained. I'm saying games should engage the player in ways that make them want to keep playing it. And a lot of games just don't do that. They're just not fun. But that doesn't make all of them mistakes that never should have been seen the light of day. For instance, I think Glover is a pretty flawed game that gets annoying and frustrating from time to time, but there's something about it that makes me love it. Sure, it's not my go-to source of dopamine every Friday night, but it's a genuinely unique and charming game with a pleasing visual style, catchy music, and a world that I really like, despite everything it does wrong. To make a long video short, Blinks the Time Sweeper is a very good game, I don't care what you say. Hi, welcome to the Funny Zone. I just want to say thank you for the support on the last couple of videos. I was hoping to hit 100 subs soon, but I didn't expect it to get it overnight. Just thank you. I'll try to get more videos out as soon as I can, but I'm still working on finding new ideas, so I don't make the same thing over and over, but thanks. Bye.